there, it's HoneyBadger986 back again with another Kerbal Space Program video, and today, you've guessed it, I'm going to show you the Atlas5 and its payload, the DSL Duna Science Lab. And today I'm going to show you how to build it and also send this baby to Duna. Now, I use stock parts for my craft, so no mods are needed. And here you see the Sky-crane and the rover. That's already a stock craft available for you at Kerbal Space Program. So now we're going to build around our rover and our Sky-crane. So first I'm going to add a round 8 fuel tank, because from experience entering Duna and landing is quite hairy. And just in case, I'm also going to add an Oscar B fuel tank. Now this should be enough for the landing, and now we're going to build our spacecraft. So first of all, we're going to start with the top part of our spacecraft, and here we have a Rockomax adapter 02 attached on a decoupler, and on top we have an advanced SAS system, and attached to the SAS system is 4 solar panels. And on top you can see 4 small solid rocket boosters, which are called Separatrons. I call them mini rocket boosters. I actually have 4 of them, but I attached them in 2 pairs, because they're going to be working in separate stages. And so that's the top of our spacecraft done. And now we are going to build the bottom part. And for the bottom part, I also used a Rockomax adapter 02, and attached to it are 6 1x1 structural panels. And as you can see inside, it's also attached to the bottom of the rover by a decoupler. And attaching the 1x1 structural panel to the top of the spacecraft is the structural strut. I added it for support and stability. And of course, we also going to be needing a battery cell, because this thing's gonna eat up a lot of power. Attached to the battery cell are a round 8 fuel tank and 8 solar panels. And now we're going to attach a T200 fuel tank, and on the fuel tank we've got 4 Rockomax 2477 boosters. Now these are pretty good engine, pretty powerful, and also take a lot of fuel. And as you can also see, I added more solar panels onto the T200 fuel tanks, because this thing is also going to be powered by an electronic propulsion system. That's going to take in a lot of power. And to the T200 fuel tank, we're also going to be attaching a round 8 fuel tank and an Oscar B fuel tank. And attaching to the Oscar B fuel tank, we have a X150 xenon container and the electric propulsion system. And we're also going to be adding 6 X50R xenon containers. And now after that, our spaceship is finished. Now we're going to be building the fairing stage. So for the fairing stage, we'll be attaching a Kerbal adapter onto a decoupler. And as you can see, I also have 2 mini solid rocket boosters. And here I've attached a Mark 7 nose cone. So here we have the top part of our rocket. And now we're going to start building the bottom part of the fairing with the rocket stage. And attaching our spacecraft to the rocket is an 18A stack decoupler. Now please pay attention to the way of the arrows on the decouplers are pointing, because that will be the way the decoupler will be jettisoned. Now attached to that is a Kerbal S3 3600 fuel tank. And attaching the fuel tank to the top of the fairing are support struts, which I'm also going to add to the Rockomax 2477 rocket engines for stability. Now attached onto the Kerbal S3 fuel tanks, I have the separation boosters and solar panels. As you can see, I have around 8 separation boosters, 4 pointing up and 4 pointing down. The 4 pointing up is for the fairing separation, and the 4 pointing down is for the main rocket stage separation. And for the main fairing structure itself, I use 2x2 structural panels. So they're around 3 panels high and 6 sides, and they should close perfectly like this. And the top part of the panel should just be touching the top part of the rocket. But we're just going to keep it open for now. And now, after that, we're going to attach the Kerbal KR2L engine. And attached to that will be the TR38 decoupler and a Kerbal adapter turned upside down. Now this is the fairing stage, all finished and done, and this is what it should look like. And now we're going to start building our main rocket stage. And we are going to be using 3 Max jumbo fuel tanks. And it's going to be powered by a Max mainsail engine. Now this engine has a very high propulsion, but in original Atlas 5 it's powered by an engine with 2 nozzles. And now we're going to attach 4 solid rocket boosters on them. There are S1 SRBs, and on top we have an advanced SAS system with a nose cone. And attaching the SRBs to the main rocket are hydraulic manifolds and the struts for structural stability. And so the only thing we have to do now is to connect the last 2 solid rocket boosters, and our rocket is taking shape nicely. In the original Atlas 5 they only have up to 5 solid boosters, but we're gonna need 6 here to get us to Duna. And it's looking pretty good. As for the stages, there should be around 12 stages, and the staging sequence, I'll be going through them as we travel to Duna. Now everything's finished, and we're gonna close the fairing. And perfect. And now we are going to launch. And here we are, the Atlas 5 with its payload, the DSL Duna Science Lab, is ready to launch. But before we can launch, we have to make sure that Kerbal is aligned with Duna and its closest point. Now as you can zoom out, you can see that Kerbal is actually in front of Duna right now, so we have to go around one more round to catch up with Duna. So we're going to speed it up, and we will rotate counterclockwise and catch up with Duna. Now the angle we're aiming for is around 45 degrees. So here we are, it looks good and perfect. Now we are ready to lift off. Okay, staging. We put the throttle up to full, ignite main engine, and after that we ignite 4 solid rocket boosters and detach from launch system. We deplete the 4 rocket boosters and we detach those, and we ignite the 2 solid rocket boosters, deplete them, and we detach those 2. Staging from the main rocket engine, and we burn for orbit. Now at this point you all should know how to get to orbit. If you don't, I advise you to learn how to get to orbit first before even going to Moon or Duna. Now okay, I'm going to aim for Duna by eye, the same way I used to go to the Moon. So when you see Duna at the horizon, or the curvature of the Earth, right there, and that is where we're going to place our maneuver node. Just like going to the Moon. Okay, so we're going to zoom out for a better angle, and we're going to add prograde. So when you see your trajectory come up, slow down a bit here because it's gonna go very fast, and the interception should be around at the apoapse, or just right there. And you can tweak it a bit, make it as close as possible. So when you reach your maneuver node, you burn for the maneuver. And same thing here, when you see your trajectory come up, slow down. I'm actually using only around 0.1% of the throttle right here. And there we go. So you should be coming up on interception right there. And then we send our craft off nice and calmly to Duna. It's gonna take a while, so we're gonna speed it up. So here we are at Duna's gravitational pull. So what we're gonna do now is actually add a maneuver node at the periapse here, and we're gonna add retrograde to slow us down. And we want to slow us down until the periapse is around 150 kilometers away from Duna. So you don't actually want the trajectory hitting Duna just for now. So you're setting a path around Duna with a periapse of 150. And then we're going to move into position, and we're going to burn the rest of our Cambodian KR2L engines with its fuel, and we're going to stage from it, exposing our spacecraft. Ignition and staging. So now here's our spacecraft, and we are now in cruise mode. And this is where it is tricky. Okay, so turn on your electronic propulsion, and it should show up an estimate burn time. The estimate burn time showing there is 23 minutes. So yes, we are going to fast forward until we are 23 minutes from the maneuver node. So when you're 23 minutes away from the maneuver node, you throttle up your electronic propulsion system. And this is where it is annoying, because when you throttle up in this game, you cannot speed up. So apparently now I have to wait 23 minutes before I can do anything else. Sometimes, like I said, the number can vary, and once I had to wait for around 1 hour 5 minutes. So after when you finish your burn, it should look something like this. It's not the same as the maneuver node you set, but if the periapse is around 150 kilometers away, and then it's okay. Now we're going to speed up until our spacecraft is around 1,000 kilometers away from Duna. And there we're going to use our electronic propulsion system again to slow us down, and pulling the periapse into Duna, setting a collision course. The electronic propulsion system will only work until around 500 kilometers away, and then the gravity of Duna would be too strong, but I advise you to keep it on. It does have a little effect. And when you reach 40 kilometers, you ignite your 4 Rocco Max 24/7/7 boosters, full throttle, until you deplete the fuel. And then we're going to stage from it, from the bottom part of the spacecraft, firing the 2 mini solid rocket boosters on top. And after that, we're going to fire the other 2 mini solid rocket boosters when we stage the top part of the spacecraft, like so. And now you're left with the Sky-crane and the rover free falling to the ground Now, there's no advice or any tips for the landing, but your vehicle should hit the ground at a velocity less than 10 meters per second. These rockets are pretty powerful, so you don't actually need to use a lot of power, and it also takes in a lot of fuel when you do. So what I'm going to do here is actually I'm going to release the rover around 2 or 3 meters above ground, and before you release, throttle up so that the Sky-crane would detach and fly and land and explode somewhere safe, far away from my rover. So here we are, nearly there. And detach and touchdown of the DSL Duna Science Laboratory, seeking clues of planetary puzzle about life on Duna. And we have come to the end of this very long demonstration of the Atlas 5 and its payload, the DSL. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. See you again next time. This is Honey Badger 986 signing out.